Joining us now is OjyOkpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Ginny.
Dr. Abati, you're the one trending. You know you're trending. You're doing well. How are you this morning? He's laughing so much.
Okay,
he knows what he wants to say.
Good morning. Like to be the news.
But he's always in the news, and he is the news. The legendary Dr. Abati. Good morning, Ayo. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well.
Good morning, Rufai.
The Molotov cocktail Dr. Abati
Yes.
show is revolving around Russia.
It's called
part of the
violence.
It's a violence cocktail.
Is it violence or wawulence?
Violence.
Very good. Well
Dr. Abati. Right on.
Well, all right. Shall we begin what's trending? Well, let's begin what's trending. On Wednesday, African leaders gathered in Lagos for the 2024 Obafemi Awolowo Prize for Leadership Award, where the president of African Development Bank, Akinwunmi Adeṣina, clinched the 2023 Obafemi Awolowo Prize for Leadership. The event was held at the Lagos Continental Hotel in Victoria Island. Vice President Kashim Shettima, who represented President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the event, praised Awolowo's teachings and described the late sage as a compass of guiding light for several generations of leaders. Well, during the event, Shettima was seen in a video that has now made the rounds on social media, attempting to broker a truce between the governor of Ogun State, Dr. Abiodun, and the immediate past governor of the state, Ibikunle Amosun. You can see that Vice President Kashim Shettima seems to be a peacemaker. That's what a lot of people have been saying on social media. It was nice to see that video trending all over social media. I mean, if you could recall, there was, that back and forth. Yeah, there's the video. There was that back and forth between your state governors, your immediate past governors, Rufai and Dr. Abati. I'll call both of you out, of course. And it's nice to see that Shettima has done the right thing again this time. Let me take a tweet from Salau, who wrote, at the last FEC meeting, VP Kashim Shettima asked Governor Sim Fubara to greet Emperor Nyesom Wike. Yesterday, he facilitated the handshake between Governor Dr. Abiodun and former Governor Ibikunle Amosun. Vice President Kashim Shettima is the true unifier. Rufai, over to you.
I mean, I must give very strong commendation to Kashim Shettima. I mean, I like most of them. I like some of the moves the Vice President have been making. The Wike Fubara was one. Secondly is this one.
Yeah.
Because both parties have been at loggerheads, and it dates back even to the first term, that first election. Dr. Abiodun was just lucky. Amosun had his own candidate that he had pushed forward, and he was going all out for that candidate, and that did not pan out. Even the last election cycle too, they had a lot of squabbles and all of that. And when you look at it, after all is said and done, it should be in the interest of the states. All this political bickering will come to an end one day. And it has to come to an end. But one thing about politicians I also know is that they are not permanent enemies. If their interests both align, they will come together and they'll do stuff together. At some point, they were both in the same party, but Amosun was somebody that he had pushed to another party. I forget his name now. So I am happy that Kashim Shettima has been able to put their hands to hit each other. You can see, yes, they were a little bit, if you check their body reaction, they didn't like it, they shrugged a bit. But it's the very first process.
It's the first process.
I believe it's at Event Nations Hill. And it reminds me of what happened at Nelson Mandela's, and I'm happy that happened at Chief Awolowo's, foundation celebration event. It reminds me of what happened at Nelson Mandela's burial, where for the very first time, Raul Castro had an engagement with Barack Obama. And that brought some level of peace between America and Cuba before everything was upturned anyway. But I like it when leaders meet. That's the spirit of Obafemi Awolowo, extending his hands of fellowship. If you remember the fight he had also with Akitola, very heated, but he was always very magnanimous and extending his hand. And somebody would have wished that those two parties truly reconciled, but we all know how it went. Akitola had died, in the events that led up to the, civil war. Awolowo was to live many years after and things like that. So I'm happy these two political guardians are coming together. And thank you so much, Vice President Kashim Shettima.
Yes, absolutely. We'd love to see that.
Well, what is that verse in the Bible? Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Matthew 5, verse 9. And here we see the Vice President of Nigeria, Kashim Shettima, behaving as a true son of God, making peace. And as a man who has been former governor of Borno State, where, you know, there's a lot of conflict.
Yes,
he understands the cost of conflict and the value of peace and reconciliation. And so the other time we had him linking Wiki and Fubara, telling Fubara, go and greet your Oga at the Federal Executive Council meeting. And here in Ogun State, it's between Governor Abiodun and Senator Ibikunle Amosun. Well, just to make a point here, that both Governor Abiodun and Senator Ibikunle Amosun, they are friends, though. They are friends. As they say, you know, on the streets, it was caterpillar that passed between them. and they began to have, you know, political differences. But they know each other very well. At earlier times, they even collaborated together politically. But you know, as they say in politics, there are no permanent enemies, there are only permanent friends. I'm sure that at some point, you know, common interests will bring them together and they will be able to collaborate. And with people like Senator Shettima, the Vice President, bringing them together, that, you know, is something we can hope for. And then, of course, the platform of the Obafemi Awolowo Foundation event, you know, was an appropriate platform. I was saying earlier on that at that Leadership Prize Award yesterday, it was a question of who was not there. Everybody was there. As big as that hall, you know, is, there was virtually almost no seat. And the man of the moment, of course, who received the prize for this year, Akinwunmi Adeṣina, you know, I think the lesson all of us can learn from his example. I had commented on him yesterday and again this morning. He said, again, that verse from the Bible, seest thou a man who is diligent in his works? He shall stand before kings and not before men. Yesterday, Akinwunmi Adeṣina stood tall among kings. And you may say, of course, that what has given him that opportunity is his diligence, his scholarship, and also, you know, in service to humanity.
Right. Congratulations, Akinwunmi Adeṣina, our peacemaker, Ayo, because you are a pastor. I want a quick word from you with that reconciliation before we go to
very quick word. But I'll first say that Dr. Abati, I think I know what his retirement plan is. Yes. It is to go to the pulpit. Pastor. But I just want to say that this morning I'll give Vice President Kashim Shettima his flowers. Yes. I think for a very long time he had come under a lot of criticism. People say just his face was so hard. They didn't think he was, you know, soft or in terms of being a leader. Yes. But in the last few weeks, he has actually proven himself to be a man to watch. He has gone to places, said the right words. I mean, kudos to his speech writers. But beyond the speeches, we saw what he did in, you know, during the FEC meeting, and now here, he just seems like a man who wants all his. He's like a unifier, and he would do very well as a leader of the party or leader. So I really must say that so far, so good. Alongside the First Lady, they've surprised us. They've surprised me. And I think today I give him his flowers. Well done.
Absolutely. Well done. Nigeria's Vice President, Kashim Shettima. We'll take another story. It was a night of tributes for the late Group CEO of Access Bank, Dr. Herbert Wigwe, who lost his life alongside his wife, Doreen Wigwe, and son, Chizi Wigwe, in a tragic helicopter crash in the United States on February 9th, 2024. Dignitaries, including Nigeria's Vice President, Kashim Shettima, and the 14th Emir of Kano, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, were among those who eulogized the iconic banker. Udushala Falaye, who was the personal assistant to Dr. Herbert Wigwe, narrated how he escaped death by a whisker and gave a vivid narration of his last encounter with his boss.
It was a sweet journey, 11 hours. We flew from London to Palm Springs. I remember in the middle of the air, I walked up to him. I said, "Sir, how comfortable are you flying chopper at night? I've never done it before." And he said a word. He said, "This is America. They have navigation system for flying chopper at night." And I went back to my seat. And we landed. Everybody was filled with joy. There were finally almost there. And as they were loading the luggages, and this thought started playing in my mind that, okay, you will fly chopper, 1 hour, you are there. The next 3.5 hours, the luggages are not going to come. Will I go to bed? No. I still have to sit down and wait for those luggages to come. And I'm like, so why not just go with the luggages and get there and deliver to him and others in the room? Like I said, I always reason in the line of duty. And I walked up to him. I said, sir, I think it's safer and will be secure for me to just ride and bring the luggage to you. He said, brilliant idea.
Well, the 14th Emir of Kano, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, broke down 3 times while paying tribute to Herbert Wigwe. Each time he broke down, he was comforted by his aide, the Abia State Governor, Alex Oti, and Herbert's partner, Igboje Ig Imokwede.
I was thinking I would die and leave Herbert. On the day I heard on the radio that I was dethroned, the night before I knew it was going to happen, and I called him and said, I want to come to Lagos when it happens. The announcement was made at about 9 a.m. By noon, Herbert had a plane on the tarmac in Kano. The plan then was to take me into exile for many years. I put my family on that plane. No message, no phone call, nothing. Just put them on that plane and sent them to Lagos. Herbert received them. Put them in a hotel. Later, got them flats, got them accommodation. For months, when I came, we stayed there. I can go on and on. Shola is here. Herbert said to me, Your Highness, you want to travel, tell Shola. I just called Shola and I get a jet. So much so that people believe I own the jet. Some people believe that I own Access Bank. And Ike and Herbert are fronting for me.
Herbert's family, including his brother, Emeka Wigwe, his sisters, Dr. Joyce, Stella, and Peggy, also paid tribute to the late banker, Herbert's daughter, Chizi Wigwe, who Ig Imokwede described as the most eligible woman in the world right now, gave an emotional speech as she paid tribute to her father.
You've left me with enormous shoes to fill, but you've also gifted me with an unwavering support system. You nurtured your relationships with such care that you've bestowed upon me fathers to guide and protect me. For that, I'm eternally grateful. I love you deeply, and I ache for the day we'll be reunited, to resume our cherished gossip sessions, to continue our pep talks about life and everything in between. With all my love, Mama T, aka You're Pretty.
Goodbye, Herbert. You will always live in our hearts. You had the grace to hold yourself when most would fall apart. You stood up for your country, and you whispered to those in pain, I belong to heaven, but the stars spell out your name. And it seems to me you lit your life like a candle in the wind. Every blaze sun set, when the rain set in. Footsteps will always echo in our deepest memories. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will.
It was a beautiful night of tributes for the late Dr. Herbert Wigwe. Ayo. Olushola Falaye, his personal assistant, gave that moving tribute and talked about how he narrowly escaped death. And, you know, it was good to hear first-hand information to see how brave Herbert was. If you recall, he said that he went to him and asked him, "Are you sure you want to take a helicopter at night?" And Herbert told him, "This is the United States. We have the navigation system that will take us." I mean, they call him, you know, the African hero. The HOW Foundation have termed him our African hero, and everybody knows him as the fearless leader. Again, may his soul rest in perfect peace. I'd like your tribute.
Well, it was clear then that he showed fearlessness, yes, even until the very end. Shola Falaye's tribute was perhaps one of the most intriguing and one that people wanted to hear the most, aside from his family members, because he had the exclusive, at least to a very large extent, account of the last minutes before the unfortunate passing of Dr. Wigwe. And he did justice to that, even though at some point he was overcome with emotions. I want to just mention as well that in tribute to him, he ensured that he personally led the choir. So that was his choir, Light Hill Choir, and selected the songs carefully to reflect the life and man that Dr. Herbert Wigwe was. And so it was a difficult task for him, but he wanted to personally oversee that. So kudos to him. It was beautiful all through. Now, in terms of his account, it shows that, number one, he shared the kind of man that he was. There was one experience he said when he saw Dr. Wigwe in a room, his eyes shining bright because he was ideating. Yeah. And so we can then understand why he came up with such brilliant ideas and dreams that seemed like they were beyond that of just a mere mortal. But we could see that he took time to really think. He extolled him as a family man who placed his family first. And then the last moment where he said that he made the decision, his name is still on the manifest, to take, in the line of duty, focused on serving his boss, to take the luggage by road, and then Herbert, his wife, their son, and then Mr. Abimbo Ogunbanjo proceeded on the helicopter. At that point, he couldn't speak anymore. I mean, he just went because he couldn't even reflect. But I just want to say, in the last few days, we have been able to celebrate, and kudos to Access Corporation. Yes. They have done a stellar job ensuring that they send off Dr. Herbert Wigwe in grand style. Yes. But one of the things I will mention, two things, loyalty and his ability to hold friends and connection. Mm-hmm. We saw that with the kind of people who came to speak about him from different walks of life, young and old, staff members and captains of industry. An excellent life well lived by a fearless man indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Herbert Wigwe will be laid to rest on over the weekend on Saturday. I'd like a quick tribute before we wrap up.
In addition to all the things we have said, to remind all of us of what John Donne said. He said, "No man is an island entire of itself. Each is a piece of the continent. Every man's death diminishes me, for I'm involved in my kind. Therefore, send not to know for whom the bell tolls, for it tolls for thee." What is important is for us to take the lesson from the example of Herbert Wigwe, who lived a life of impact and innovation and distinction. What everyone at that event was paying tribute to were these special attributes. Absolutely. May his soul rest in peace.
Absolutely. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Goodbye, the fearless leader, Dr. Herbert Wigwe. That's all I have for you on What's Trending today. I'll see you all tomorrow.
Grace to hold yourself when most would fall apart.